this movie clocks 10 minutes longer, but it feels 10 times longer. Like, it's so much worse than the first one.
People loved this movie. Or at least people attended this movie.
Welcome, my name is George, and with me is Chris, and today we are talking about the 2009 Twilight New Moon. The Twilight Saga New Moon. Now, here's the thing. The word saga means a long and complicated chronicle of like epic hero deeds, legends, and achievements. I do not think this movie has earned that title. At best, this could be Twilight, a novella.
There are no deeds or achievements. I'm so glad you said this because Caroline called it New Moon and I corrected her, the Twilight Saga New Moon, and she said exactly what you just said, angrily. It's not a saga. I felt the absence of Catherine Hardwicke in this movie because somehow everyone's performances got worse from the first movie. And then, like you say, we start in with the Bella voiceover again. This time she's doing Shakespeare because this movie has a Romeo and Juliet theme that means nothing and goes nowhere.
It also like didn't really occur like Romeo and Juliet.
No, not at all. Yeah, so she's talking about like these violent delights have violent ends, and somewhat along the lines of your saga complaint. I was also like, this is the least violent delight relationship of all time.
5 minutes into the movie, there's a very quick moment here where she says hi to her friends at her school, and as soon as her friends notice Edward's car pulling up, they all just went, "Oh, he's here," and left.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in a new relationship and one of your friends is being negative about it, that might be a bad friend. But if all your friends immediately leaves whenever your new partner shows up, maybe reconsider the relationship.
I think it's just impressive that Bella has kept any friends around. I don't know why anyone wants to hang out with her. Have you noticed how he parked his vehicle?
Oh yeah, he just like randomly stopped.
Just pulled in. He just double parked. Like an asshole.
Happy birthday! I said no presents.
So the plot, just in case you need a refresher on New Moon, is that Bella's turning, I don't know, 18? What's going on in this movie? She's turning 18. She's like, oh my god, I'm getting old. I'm going to be old and Edward's not going to want me. Which is the first of many excellent messages for youths in this movie. It turns out she's right. She is getting old and Edward does not want her because he leaves immediately after her birthday. And breaks up with her.
I feel very conflicted about this like plot device, this opening inciting incident, right? Is that she had a dream about, I guess it would be a realistic thing decades down the line, which is she will eventually become an old woman and he would still be 17.
Yeah.
Physically. Yeah. Right.
So valid concern.
I can understand her, her thing about that. And it's also like, in a way, it's a pretty good representation of like the mind of a teenager, which is like you take such a mundane thing like a dream and then just escalate it to the point where your relationship ends.
Totally agreed. Yep.
And then proceed to just like sob about it for days and days and days. So in that sense, it's a great representation of totally what teenagers would do, but it's also just incredibly irritating to watch.
That might be our problem with all these movies. I feel like that could sum up a lot of the kissing booth complaints too, is that maybe it is realistic, but I don't enjoy looking at it.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing. I feel like an easy counter argument to that from anybody would be like, well, these movies are not made for you. But that shouldn't be a barrier for a good movie.
No, there's lots of teen movies that I like. Yeah, I think Booksmart is the teen movie that I keep banging the drum about from recent years that I thought was like absolutely brilliant and also a very authentic look at teenagers so far as I know.
Wow, scrap metal. You shouldn't have.
I saved it from the junkyard.
And so the shape of the movie, just like 365 Days 2, just like Kissing Booth 2, is that we find a reason for hunky guy from the first movie to go away. And now we're tempted by hunky other guy for the duration of the second movie. And like all those other movies, it's completely dull, even more so in this one because there's not an ounce of a chance that she's ever going to be interested in anyone else than Edward. She says that outright many times. It's completely clear from the start to the end. until she just straight up says to Jacob at the end, "Don't make me choose because it's gonna be him." um, but yeah, so this entire second movie, is the temptation movie like the other two, except there's no temptation experienced, just like there's no sex experienced and no anything else experienced in these movies.
Yeah. It's just her moping around for a while.
It's literally her like hanging out with her best friend, hanging out with a guy that she demands be her best friend so she can be depressed with him, even though she's fully aware that he's trying to go on dates and flirt with her and everything.
Vampires have laws.
Not very many.
Yeah, then we get the introduction of like the big bad vampire guys, including the greatest thing in any of these movies, which is Michael Sheen as some sort of vampire lord.
Yeah. Having Michael Sheen on this is like putting a slice of truffle on a McDonald's burger.
It's a little bit confusing, and we'll talk about it more when we get to the end, but once they're all in a room acting with Michael Sheen, it just makes everything look much worse because Michael Sheen is around making the movie that you would want these movies to be. There's a good, they rip another vampire head, which establishes that I guess there's like a samurai ritual or something. There's like, it seems like there's kind of a like set way to like do a vampire head rip, because when they show the Volturi ripping off someone's head, it's exactly the same as the way they rip off the bad guy's head in the first movie.
Yeah, so that's just how you kill a vampire. But if you want to die, you have to like basically submit a request.
You do it on your knees. Yeah, right. You fill out the paperwork. But then they still just rip your head off with their hands.
It's time. It's time, it's time, it's time.
Despite the fact that Bella says, I don't want to make a big deal out of this, Edward just ignores her request and tells her his entire family, and who then throws a party for her. I'll be honest. If I was friends with a bunch of immortal beings that are centuries old, and this is the best they can do for a party, I would be very disappointed.
Some candles.
Because I'm pretty sure that we've thrown better parties that are more exciting in setup than this, with like no money.
Yeah, they're just standing in it looks like an office party in a like sad meeting room. I don't think they have any interests. I don't think any of them likes to do anything.
I know, but just pass her by. Like at some point you would have been like, oh, that's a cool little thing, and it turns out to be, you know, an original Rembrandt. Like
You'd think it's true. You'd think like a lot of the art world would slowly get filtered to the vampire houses over the centuries. Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Yeah, like how cool would it be if one of them is actually just Rembrandt? Do you know what I mean? Like they were just
But again,
like,
I really
like the movie The Man from Earth, the guy who lived.
You know what?
And...
Okay, here's an idea. Yes, The Man from Earth is an incredible movie. Sorry, I just caught up to what you're saying. Maybe the reason they live out here in the Pacific Northwest in their weird little possibly incestuous family is maybe there's just like a thriving vampire community in Europe. And maybe they're just the sad sack losers that nobody wants around, and that's why they're here. Right. And maybe there are like underground cities and like the greatest of art and technology, and it's all there hidden just for vampires in the vampire community, and they're the Jar Jar Binks.
They are the Mac and Me family.
Bella has a little faux pas where she gets a paper cut, which immediately sends Jasper into like a mad rage of vampire bloodlust. And really convinced me that these people need to not be in high school.
And high schools in 2000 has to be full of like kids scraping their knees from skateboarding or whatever.
Yeah, weren't you bleeding all the time in high school? Like when you get in from lunch, there'd be like blood on your knee because of whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just a country boy, but we used to go run through the forest at lunch and like screw around and climb trees, and like we would bleed all the time. We'd all be dead. Jasper would have massacred the school.
Which reminds me, if you're interested in listening to the full-length discussion of this episode, you can find it on our Patreon. The link is on screen and in the description down below. If you go over there, you will get the entire recording in an audio format like a podcast. Check it out. Support us. Help us keep doing this. We really appreciate it. Anyways.
I think I talked about in the first one, I thought she and Jacob like had the only chemistry in the movie. There's that first scene where she gets her new truck, and I was like, oh yeah, like they both like doing stuff. They have similar interests. They got a nice, like, easy chemistry. They get along. They laugh. It's nice. They totally lost that in the second movie.
Yeah.
The first Jacob scene is incredibly awkward. He's just like this weird, awkward tryhard. And his attempts at flirting are really embarrassing. Like I say, like, ordinarily this is the temptation dynamic, right? But she's not, like, tempted by him.
I'm guessing the movie is trying to say that there's some weird, unique bond between the two of them, blah, 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 right? But it's like...
Yeah.
It's one of the many things that, like, the movie... Like, the story has shown no signs of. There's no reason for him or for her to love her this much, and there's no reason for her to love him that much. They've never done anything together besides just, like, moping around and talking on the dirt, on the ground, sitting in the dirt. Like...
Well, okay, perhaps us mere mortals cannot understand, like, the depth of emotion that Bella feels for Edward, because they're the Romeo and Juliet, right? They're like the most passionate love imaginable. Here's the thing about Romeo and Juliet. It takes place over a few days, and the reason that it takes place over a few days is so you don't need to watch Juliet sit in a chair for 3 months and be sad.
Exactly,
she probably wouldn't have, because Shakespeare knows teens, and Shakespeare knows that you actually just get over it and meet another hot guy. Fine, fair enough.
Exactly. That's why it's few days, because infatuation is intense and short. Yeah.
It was jet black and huge. On all fours, it was still taller than a person.
Pretty much any other character in these movies would be a better partner because they actually have conversations.
It's a fair, but I think she should date Anna Kendrick, probably.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's probably why Anna Kendrick is so annoyed with her all the time, is because there's a little crush thing going on. Anna Kendrick knows that they have this chemistry. They have fun when they're walking and talking together in the one scene we get where that happens. Maybe Kendrick's just a little hot and bothered. And irritated that Bella won't just notice the person standing there right in front of her that's perfect for her, is not a werewolf, is not a vampire, is her age.
Yeah.
I guess werewolf's her age. I don't know what Team Jacob was thinking, man, because she never shows the slightest interest.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Team Jacob never had a chance. It's like rooting for insert sports team here, because I don't know how to make those jokes.
We've been calling it werewolves, but they're not. Specific hybrid creature. These are just shapeshifters.
They're shapeshifters.
Werewolves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially that they can change at will rather than being forced to at a full moon. So at best they're a bunch of druids, I guess.
I mean, I guess still depending on your shape-shifting mythos, but it does make more sense than werewolves, at least for how huge the wolves are.
But I wonder why they chose this. Why not just go with werewolves? Is it because it's too similar to Underworld?
I think it's because she's a lazy writer and she just wanted to be able to have them turn whenever she needed them to for the plot.
Oh, fair enough.
I know, that's my guess.
What did he do? What did he tell you?
Both of you calm
Nothing.
down.
He tells me nothing because he's scared of you.
Feels like some real John Wayne shit here, because, like, the werewolves are just, like, guardians of the land, like, just because.
Yeah.
And, like, that's their only thing they do is, like, guard the land and keep the rich white vampires in check. Like, they don't, like, do they have their own goals or culture, or like what do they do?
I think we are literally just, like, one step away from watching a wolf standing over a hill looking at some garbage and shedding a tear.
That's a deep cut reference these days. Nice one.
Yeah, I think it was unintentional inclusion.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's like malicious intention either. I just think it's like kind of careless usage.
No, it's definitely just like, ooh, the Native Americans have secret werewolf legends.
Yeah. It's no different than, like, in the 80s and 90s, Western movies always had, like, the Eastern mysticism. At, like, the most trivial way, but it's like neither malicious or inclusive. It's just is. It's costuming. That's really it. Edward is so distraught by what he thought is the death of a teenage girl that he's known for like a year at best, that he's ready to just end his immortality. Again, 2 questions. What has she done that made him attracted to her so much, aside from smelling good and that her mind can be read? Which, by the way, aren't anything that she chose to do.
That's
It's
true.
just like, it's just about as vapid as a reason to love somebody as someone's height.
That's a very good point, that the 2 things are just totally innate traits.
Yeah, she didn't do
Nothing
anything.
is based on her achievements or... Yeah.
Exactly, she's provided no reason for this intense
Oh, well, wait, no,
amount of love and affection.
she memorized the square root of pi. I don't know, I guess I just had... So the whole idea is that this awful young woman who has no agency, wants no agency, makes no decisions for herself, and wants everyone else to just tell her what to do, will randomly end up in a scenario where every boring little decision she makes actually has tremendous importance. And so I was kind of thinking about it like dumb action movies are these like power fantasies for men, where you imagine that, like, you know, if someone pushed you far enough or whatever, you'd become like Charles Bronson killing machine, and then you'd like go John Wick everyone to protect your family or whatever the hell these fantasies are. I guess there's maybe like an aspect of this that this is a power fantasy for young girls, for young kids who like don't have anything momentous in their lives and can't make decisions that matter at all. And the fantasy of Twilight is like these dumbass decisions that are the few you get to make, like who to date and who to be friends with and who to hang out with, actually have these like world-shaking impacts that are like threatening ancient treaties and like that take you to Italy to sort out your crush and stuff. Did that make me like it more? No. I would rather just have stories about teens that do interesting things.
Goodbye, Jake.
No, you don't speak for her.
Next week, we are coming back, but we're going to do something different. We're going to do the first 2 episodes of the OC. However, if it turns out that you guys really like these Twilight videos, then we will come back to it and do the 3rd one and so on and so forth. Especially the 3rd one being the one that Chris worked on.
Assuming these videos have a theatrical gross equivalent or higher than Twilight Saga New Moon, we'll be back.
Yeah. All right. We're done. Like and subscribe, and remember, stay tuned next week for the OC first episode and 2nd one. We'll see you next week.
I forgot to sign off again. I don't know. There aren't even lines to like
There's
say.
no lines.